Okay, fantastic. So, uh, Matthew and Neill, thank you very much for your time.
No worries.
Xero HQ, really interesting product. Lots of things to talk about. What is the future of connecting it to third-party apps? Like, how do you see those apps? What are connecting? What are they? What information they're swapping? What types of apps are they?
I think it's quite limitless. If you look at the integrations we have already with Practice Manager, we want to sort of bring that closer and manipulate what we have with the activity feed into the client list. So, for example, using the client list to push out communications to clients, using the activity feed to pull in, say, payroll alerts. So, obviously we have product in lots of regions which work globally, but we build product locally as well for other regions. So somewhere like Singapore, for example, where we don't have a payroll connection, being able to integrate and tightly integrate and give the practices the ability to access that is really valuable.
So let's talk apps. When you say push out communications, what type of communications? What type of apps?
I think that depends on the app that we choose and who wants to work with us to do that. It's about providing the ability for businesses to do that without using tools that we don't necessarily have.
So a scenario might be, say, using MailChimp to send out communications
absolutely.
about what?
Absolutely.
Right. What would Xero HQ be pushing out that could integrate?
So what Xero HQ could do is I'll have a list in MailChimp, all of my subscribers, so all of my clients that have subscribed to or opted into my email marketing, being able to effectively flag or tag those inside Xero HQ. So that in the event that you change email addresses, you switch from Gmail to Outlook.com, as an example, as a client of my accounting practice, I would change your email address in Xero HQ, but because you're already a subscriber in my email marketing system, we could potentially push that update back into that email marketing campaign, as an example.
Any other ways of, or other types of data to push backwards and forwards other than just the customer contact details?
So we're looking at things like the client relationships. So the integration we have with Practice Manager and now Infinity and a number of the other corporate solutions or corporate management solutions are able to use the client list in Xero Practice Manager, and that will become, or is essentially, a subset of the master client list in Xero HQ. So that's why we're, as part of the rollout or launch of Xero HQ, we'll be synchronizing the client list from partners who are using Xero Tax or Practice Manager. We'll be taking all of their current clients from Practice Manager and seamlessly synchronizing them and matching them to their Xero organizations inside Xero HQ. So there's one list. So when I make a change in one place, it automatically flows through the rest of our partner tools.
So now Infinity got called out during the Xero HQ announcement this morning. They didn't really talk about what that integration means.
So now Infinity's corporate messenger product in Australia is there for asset compliance. So you might have a registered company, you'll have a register of shareholders. If you need to make changes to those registers, you're able to change those relationships in Xero Practice Manager using the Now Infinity product. It prepares all of the necessary asset forms, the 484 change of company detail forms, for example. Really interesting solution. BGL and other partners have similar integrations under development or in the market already around Practice Manager. What we're doing with Now Infinity in New Zealand is similar. So at the moment, Now Infinity's product only works with ASIC, the Australian Securities and Investment Commission. We'll now be able to talk to the company's office in New Zealand the same way, just similar sort of integration.
So similar integration in Xero, in that you make a change in the Xero client contact details and it gets pushed through Now
If I make changes in the client list in the Xero HQ products, so be that Practice Manager or Xero HQ itself, those updates, if necessary, will be flagged and will prepare the change of company details forms.
In Now Infinity?
In Now Infinity.
Right, okay.
So Xero's not building a corporate compliance solution for Australia or New Zealand or Singapore or Thailand or any other market at this stage. I'm very much partnering up in that space.
I guess that's a large part of the ethos behind HQ too, right? We can't go into every single market in the world and build that sort of application. It's just not practical. It's not a core business either. But we want to be able to use the information that we have and give it to our partners so that they can make the most of that information and do those types of integrations.
So Xero's in 180 countries. So that means Xero is used to help small businesses run in 180 countries. We don't have payroll in 180 places, but 180 countries do have a payroll system. So being able to push information into the activity feed from things like payroll applications saying that I need to pay my staff, click here and goes and runs the pay run. through HQ or through the activity feed in HQ. That's sort of the direction that we're going.
Okay.
We're also talking to government agencies as well. The ATO has expressed some interest in things like the activity feed in our applications, being able to inform clients and, more importantly, inform agents of changes in either the ATO infrastructure or your client has changed their address in MyGov. So they've changed it through Department of Human Services, make that change and it flowing through into all practice products via a client service like HQ.
Okay, so the press release that went out today says Xero HQ will be launched, first iteration in November. What are we going to get?
So in November, we will be evolving Migraine Xero, as you know. So that means the activity feed comes in, that means the client list comes in, that means Explorer comes in as first iteration. The changes to support the advisor directory, so that allows practices to be able to propagate the new advisor directory, take advantage of Explorer. So there's a lot of work going on there with tagging industries, which creates benchmarking opportunities for us to send information back out into the ecosystem about who's using what and where. But also for a partner, it means that they can now hold themselves up as being an expert in construction, expert in finance, whatever it may be.
So just remind me, the Xero file already, in the contact details, already sets the industry, does it?
In some cases, yes. So in some cases we are matching that industry information in the Xero organization. So when you set up a client file or a ledger on Xero, it asks what industry you're in, and currently it's a free text field. We're going through and mapping those to in Asia, as Australia and New Zealand, we're mapping them to the ANZIC codes.
Okay.
We similarly have similar data in the tax products. That will populate the industries in Australia and New Zealand. We're doing something very, very similar for the United States and the UK using their mapping schema that will allow us to populate those industries both in the advisor directory and in the Explorers.
So let's talk about the Explorer tab, and it looks like it's a way to segment clients in lots of different
pivot
ways.
table for your client list.
Pivot table for a few clients, that's great. So what types of things can you do with that segmenting that clients don't think of, like walking through the scenarios that were presented on stage?
So I'm working in retail.
Yep.
So I've got 23 retail clients. 17 of them are connected to a retail item like Vend, for example. We want to be able to make sure that my Vend certified specialist in my practice has access to all of those files. It also allows me to identify the ones that aren't necessarily on Vend, maybe not using a Xero app for retail. We can identify those opportunities and go, do you need to engage one of our account integrators, or do you need to engage our firm to actually help streamline that business process?
Or even taking a step back, that you might need to have event specialist on staff.
Absolutely, So being able to identify where you should put your energy to train up on all the add-ons. There's 500 plus of them. It's going to be quite a task to learn them all. So being able to go, hey, my top 10 of these, I know nothing about 5 of them is really valuable.
And it's interesting that you speak to a lot of accountants, and often you say, which industries do you specialise in? They say, oh, we're pretty much across the board. They don't seem to know which industries are the strongest.
And with Explorer, they may find that that's not strictly true. They might see that 20% of the clients from construction, for example, and it allows them to have that visibility. And as Matt was saying, connect that back into the app ecosystem and see how they can better serve them.
So it's one thing to have the knowledge; it's another thing to actually go do something with it. How do you see Xero helping partners take that step towards employing someone who's a specialist in your client's favourite app, for example, or being able to develop an industry-specific service or product?
I think what we're doing is providing the tools so that they can do that themselves. So it's up to the add-ons to decide how they want to educate their users and how they want to promote that to the practices. But what we're doing is giving them a path to take so that they can make that choice much easier and not be doing it blindly.
But at the same time, we are continuing to make considerable investments in Xero and on industry-specific, app-specific education for particular verticals. We're also heavily investing in the cloud service provider program with the cloud integrated channel in Australia and New Zealand and Asia, and help augment that market and provide that support. We've got sessions at XeroCon which are about the emerging best practice for accountants and bookkeepers to engage cloud integrators what to look for, what does that engagement process look like, what is the best way to work with clients. And of course, in this particular XeroCon, we've also got the industry-specific sessions looking at what is the best way to optimize using Xero for trade clients or retail clients or hospitality or farming clients in particular. So different markets are particularly important to us. And given the international flavour, we've also got one for online business and e-commerce internationally that we're going through, which involves the role of the cloud integrator, the role of the ecosystem around the apps, but also the features in Xero that work really well. And that's just the beginning of where we're starting to position some of our education.
Okay, and so when do we see the API for Xero HQ, and you can connect apps and do all that good stuff with the activity feed?
So the activity feed API will be available to third parties sometime in 2017.
Sometime
in 2017. Certainly not part of the initial release in November. We're still doing a fair bit of work to make sure that our own products are best citizens or first native citizens with some of the features in Xero HQ. So the initial launch of Xero HQ will have alerts from or activity feed from most Xero products, but not all of them. We're bringing in those other activity feeds in early 2017 and then bulking them out as we go.
So which ones will be there at the beginning?
So the best way to find that part out would be come along to the session tomorrow or have a look at the keynote. But very much we've already got activity feed alerts or activity feed action cards coming in for payroll for Australia, New Zealand, the UK, the US. We have it for Xero work papers. We have it for GST filing in New Zealand. We have it for VAT filing in the UK. Similarly, we have it for activity statements in Australia, along with pay runs and bank reconciliations. The one to come, the big one for us in Australia definitely is income tax. So the Australian tax team is hard at work integrating as part of that, synchronising the client list between Practice Manager or Xero Tax and Xero HQ. We'll be bringing across some income tax alerts. The first lot are essentially due dates. So, Sholto, you've got a tax return due in 30 days, or your individual tax return is now approved by someone. It's ready to go through the next step in the flow. That's the first cut of the alert of the activity feed for tax. But we do recognise in New Zealand, where our tax product is significantly more sophisticated, we do a lot of the tax management functions for New Zealand tax practitioners inside Practice Manager. There's a bit more work that we need to do, and more importantly, that we're looking forward to doing to actually feed that activity into HQ from Practice Manager in New Zealand tax.
Fantastic. All right, Matt, Neill, thanks very much.
No worries.
Let's see. That is